Hello and welcome to UC Today. I'm Tom Wright, and it's a pleasure as always to be joined by William from CallTower. Great to speak to you again, William. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, Tom. Thank you very much for having me on today. Excited to have our conversation.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. It's a really interesting conversation around Operator Connect. I think a great place to start actually would be around CallTower. So perhaps you could go into to begin with a bit of detail around how CallTower's own Operator Connect practice has developed over the last few months.
Yeah, I think when you look at Call Tower in a whole, I mean, we've been around for 22 years overall. We've been a Microsoft partner going back to 2008 and started to actually enable voice on Microsoft back in the days of OCS and Link and then Skype and then obviously now Microsoft Teams with first with Direct Routing and now with Operator Connect. And I think when you look at that evolution that Call Tower has been able to really leverage our experience with Microsoft and on Operator Connect, we're really seeing Operator Connect as being kind of that next evolution of voice, right? Voice is nowadays just another way that we communicate outside of, when you look at instant messaging and text messaging, all the different social media platforms that are out there, email, right, and so forth, conferencing, right, whether it be audio or whether it be video or a combination. And then voice is another app, right, another way that we communicate. It tends to be the primary one that we still use, even though there's been some reduction in volume there overall, but we still look at Operator Connect and voice as still being the leading way that people are communicating globally, and it's still very critical overall. So we're taking that intelligence, that expertise, and we're really trying to leverage it not just in North America, but we've expanded over to EMEA, also expanded over into Asia Pac, and we're about ready to expand into LATAM here in the next 30 days. So by around mid-August, we're going to start having some countries on Operator Connect as well over in LATAM. So pretty excited about where we're going with it and what that's going to mean really for our customers and our partners that are looking for solutions from Call Tower.
Yeah, so you've seen some big growth over the last few months. You've got something big coming as well, as you mentioned, moving into further into the summer. I wonder if you could go into some details about what's driving that growth and just give us a bit of an insight into, what your customers are asking for. Is this them kind of asking you to go into more areas, or is this Call Tower sort of consciously expanded into new areas to try and grab new customers?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. We're definitely working with some customers, whether they're SMB, mid market, or even enterprise, right? And it's not so much the size of the organization, but nowadays we're seeing customers with 200 or 300 users or even less that have offices across the globe. Which is kind of something that's been happening with the growth and the way the economy's been working over the past several years. So you might have a 100-person organization with 3 different locations in 3 different continents, and you got to be able to go ahead and service them. So it's really been a combination of both of us looking at the marketplace and seeing where we could really go and provide some vital support for customers in those areas, and then also from our existing customers and new customers that are multi-location that wound up saying, hey, I got 20 users in country X and I need you guys to give me some coverage there. And we're saying, well, that's probably a country that we want to look at going into. And overall, when you're looking at Operator Connect, as that's growing, you're starting to see the amount of competitors. I think overall, when you're starting to look at traditional carriers, really start to be minimized because of all the regulatory restraints or requirements, especially everything going on right now with spamming and everybody really trying to keep their DIDs in control within country and the justifications to make sure that you're providing those DIDs, and then the porting part of it, which is always a challenge, right? It's kind of like a necessary evil overall, but we're actually seeing that all as an advantage really for us, or a competitive advantage for us, because of the expertise that we bring to the table. So it's really both. We're seeing the demand from our customers and our partners, and then we're also looking at some different markets that are being underserved that we could actually go in there and provide some value to the customers in those areas.
Yeah, and you mentioned the strong demand you're seeing for Operator Connect. I think it's interesting to kind of look at the market in general, because it's obviously one of the newer ways of putting voice in Teams. Direct routing was around before, and the dynamic between them, people were sort of quite interested to see how that would develop over the first few years of Operator Connect. So how are you seeing that demand in terms of the other ways of plugging voice into Teams?
Yeah, we're seeing. I mean, there was a lot of different ways, right, that people were trying to plug in or leverage Microsoft Teams. There was obviously the direct routing, which is one part of it. Now there's Operator Connect. There was other people that were kind of using a middleware or like a third party to connect to some more traditional PBXs or platforms. And where we're seeing the demand, I mean, first and foremost, we're seeing the demand from prem-based type of customers, right? They're basically saying, hey, we know prem is dead. We know that the roadmaps on the cloud side of it seem to be significantly better overall. So we want to be investing or really moving forward in a growth area that we're seeing that technology is keeping up with what's currently out there overall in the marketplace. And then I think when you start to see where Operator Connect is going overall, it's that next evolution, right? It just makes it easier for customers if they're already part of, already bought into the Microsoft stack with different things like their Office 365 environment. Are they leveraging Azure? Those type of things. They're leveraging Microsoft Teams as their collaboration platform. If you're doing all that, then why not just enable the voice component within Microsoft Teams? Now, when you start to look at things like direct routing or direct routing, and which are a little bit kind of old school to a part, there are some areas that it does continue to be vital to the connection based on some areas in the world that are just a little bit limited, that maybe Operator Connect might not be available right away. But as far as we're concerned, the way that we're right now deploying with our customers, we're deploying about 95% of our customers on a global level on Operator Connect. We're telling customers that if you are looking at direct routing, it really has to be the exception. It's not no longer the norm overall. And we've seen some really great traction on it overall. I think when you start to look at all the operators that are currently in there, which has definitely, I think, more than quadrupled over the last few years, and we were one of the first 5 that launched the product in September of 2021. And I think now there's about 90 or so, maybe a couple more than that. It's really going ahead and making sure that you're working with the right partners that have the experience and what they could bring to the table overall. But definitely Operator Connect is that next evolution for customers and a better user experience at the end of the day, which I think is very important.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were one of the first 5 providers on the Operator Connect program, and there's now somewhere getting towards 100 carriers available on there. I just wonder, you've obviously had the jump on a lot of them, which I suppose is fantastic, but I just wonder how you'd recommend an enterprise kind of choosing their provider, because there's a lot of choice on that enterprise Operator Connect directory now.
Yeah, and when you look at the way the operators are kind of set up today, I'll just stick with the number of 90 just to make it easier. About 20% of the operators, so less than 20 of them, right, overall, make up for about 80% of the actual success that Operator Connect has had. Which is kind of ironic. It's kind of that 80-20 rule, right? So even though there's 90 in there, there's really only about 18 or so that are really making any significant ground within Operator Connect. And I think that the reason for that, and this is I think important for customers and partners to understand, is some organizations, some providers are looking at it as really a transactional type of action, right? Overall, they're just looking at it as, oh, we're just going to plug in, we're going to go ahead and give you your DID access, and you're going to be up and running and off to the races. And it's really a lot more than that. I think when you start to really look at the value add that organizations and operators like CallTower could bring to the table, it's, what are you going to do to better my business? I'm just not looking at this just to provide a phone number for my employees that they could communicate when they need to communicate with the outside world, but what else could you bring to the table? What intelligence can you bring to the table so that I understand what my employees are doing? How can I make their jobs more proficient so that they could be more productive overall? How could I secure my organization better? And then also manage it from a standpoint that my costs are going to be down, and also have that flexibility to make changes when are needed. When I need to open a site, when I need to close a site, when I need to add a user, when I need to remove a user. All those are all the things that go into it that when you start to look at it, why do I need it? And who do I want to work with that knows how to do those different things? And that's where you're going to start looking at how to partner with the right organizations.
So it sounds like there really is a lot to think about, and there's certainly a lot of runway here, I think, for Operator Connect, which leads me into my last question for you, William. I wonder if you could give us some clues about how we can expect to see CallTower develop the Operator Connect offering over the next few months. You mentioned a little bit the global expansion as well, but perhaps we can look a bit beyond that too.
Yeah, from our standpoint, when you look at the operators overall, and again, going to the 90 or so, when you start to really peel back the onion and see the different territories that they're in and so forth, obviously that list just gets smaller and smaller as far as who has the most amount of countries and so forth. But, I think first and foremost, you got to look at the coverage. And then I think second of all is you got to look at what value adds are they bringing to the table, right? When you look at the call tower solution overall, we're doing different things like call compliance. We're doing call analytics. We're leveraging AI. We're bringing a CCaaS, a contact center solution, including the new Microsoft 365 contact center solution as well. Different things like how do I handle my analog devices, right? Which again is not I always use this word and people always laugh. It's not a sexy part of the business, right? But it's a necessary evil. I need overhead paging. I need door buzzers. I need security gates, right, that I need to connect to. And I want to try to provide that all in one solution. And I think and even failover, right? People always say, well, what are you doing when Microsoft Teams goes down? Well, Microsoft Teams is like a car. If your car window doesn't work, doesn't mean the car can't drive from point A to point B. So we make sure that we could do a failover, whether it be automated or manual. We have a lot of different ways to do that. That customers could take care of the voice component of Microsoft Teams if there happens to be any type of business interruption overall. So I think when you add all those things in, it's really leveraging it to make sure that how I could better my business and what are the areas that I could add value to my customers. And again, not just replicate what I currently have, but how could you make my solution better when I'm looking at migrating over to like a Teams environment with Operator Connect.
Well, William, it sounds like there's a lot going on. I hope the launch goes well, and perhaps we can speak, just after that to hear how things have gone. But in the meantime, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, Tom. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you.
You too. And thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a share on social media, and we'll see you next time.